5.
Email and password.
3, great. Thank you. All right, good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, November 14th meeting of the Community Development Advisory Committee. Roll call, Wendy is absent with notice today. I also want to welcome the Strathroy-Caradoc Booking and Events Coordinator, Kate Topham, who joins us this evening as well. Approval of the agenda. Need a recommendation that the November 14th, 2023 CDAC committee meeting agenda be approved as circulated. Brad, seconded by Donna. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interest this evening? Brad.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Item 7.1, community events programming, is I'm involved in one of those groups.
Okay, I was going to ask for conflicts of interest or whatnot when we get there, but I appreciate you saying that anyways, but I'll ask again when we get there for sure, because there's a couple of others as well. So thank you, Brad. Any other declarations of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none. Approval of the minutes for October the 10th, 2023. I need a mover and a seconder. Adrian and Steve, any comments, questions, revisions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Unfinished business, customer surveys, I'll switch it over to the director.
Yeah, we continue to work on them. We chose not to put anything else on the agenda tonight for discussion outside of the community events application, simply because I expect that they'll take up enough amount of the evening tonight as it is. So we will have something for the next meeting, if we hold a meeting in December, considering the holidays coming up. So it may be January, but they'll be here in short order.
Okay. Number 6, reports of committees and departments, PTP, Director.
Again, that's just an item that's going to stay on the agenda, just as a reminder that we have the program and that there's a list of possible projects that the community can get involved in.
Okay, moving on to number 7, new business, 7.1, community events program application evaluation. We've heard from Brad already, who is declaring a pecuniary interest for number 7, the submission from the Mount Bridges Optimist Club. That's correct, Brad, number 7? Or was that incorrect?
Sorry, number 11, Chris.
Number 11.
Senior
Senior.
Yeah, we don't need to say the names.
Names of the events?
The events.
Okay. I'm also stating a conflict of interest for number 6. Donna?
Conflict of interest for number 3.
Thank you. Jagger?
Conflict of interest for number 3.
Okay. Any others? Seeing none, I'll switch it to the director.
Thank you, Chris. So in front of you this evening are 11 applications that came in. They were 8 that were on time and 3 that were late. So we can deal with all of them this evening. You will have noticed that there's not one complete application, and that's somewhat to be expected. This is a bit of a new program, although some of the similar requests have been taken from the previous program and moved into this program. So it shouldn't be foreign to those that are filling out the applications. It's important that we gather the information so that we know that they're worthy of the request. Is it better that, if there's a struggling event or it could use a little bit more assistance than an event that's doing extremely successful? So we don't know that unless we ask for their numbers, right? Their budgets. We don't know what their budgets are. So if someone says that their budget's $70,000 in revenue and $85,000 in expenses, and if we don't see their previous year's budget, how do we know what they're telling us is the factual truth. So we kind of have to have that information so you folks can make a decision that is that's educated, right? The other items that we ask for, such as like a letter from their board, that's just to make sure that we don't have, that the organizations themselves are supporting the application, not just one individual who wants to put on a program or an event, right?
Director, can you take questions?
Sure can.
Steve?
To the director, is there a gross amount in your budget that is allowed to be allocated to these things? An example would be, I have $50,000 that council has given me to support the community. Now we have to divide that up. Or is there no budget at all and we are just going straight to council and asking these individually to be funded?
So to answer the question, yes, there's a budget number. Previous years was, it sat around $38,000. Last year, council increased that to, I want to say it was $53,000. So that same number will be entered into the budget again for 2024 of $53,000. Now, that doesn't mean if council feels that all of these are worthwhile and they want to give them the full amount, that doesn't mean council can't increase that $53,000 to whatever that dollar value is. But this committee has guidelines to follow, which is they can only provide the maximum of 25% of the expected expense up to a maximum, right? So council, so if, and I'll use one group, number 6, as an example. They have a proposed expense budget of $102,000. If we went off of the CEP's recommendation of 25% of their expenses, they'd be eligible for $25,512. They're only asking for $15,000. Okay, we've got other events, and I'll look at number 5. I can't look at number 5 because they don't have a budget. I don't have it inputted if they do.
It had a balance sheet, didn't it?
Quick question for understanding.
Yep.
Steve?
The numbers, are they relating to the numbers on the spreadsheet that was put out, or the numbers that are in the email? In the order they're attached? Oh, these ones. Never mind.
Good question,
Okay.
thank you.
Just give me a second for, I'll look up number 5's numbers. Yeah, so in number 5's application, they did not, on page 9, they did not put in a proposed revenue and a proposed expense. So that's why I didn't identify number 5. So let's look at another one. So let's look at number 10 as an example. They have a proposed event expense of $7,500. Their eligibility is $1,875, but they've asked for $5,000. So the most this committee can award is 25% of their proposed expense. So they could not give that number 10 the $5,000. They can only give number 10 $1,875. Now, council may choose to change that, but our guidelines say that it's 25% of their proposed expense. Okay?
Great.
Just a question on the budget and how the numbers refer back. Some of the applications were just for relief of rent costs for rental municipal facilities. Does that count against the budget, or do we just count that as lost revenue and as a net zero and we give them free access if we approve it?
So it's a transfer of funds, so that waiving of fees would come out of that donation line of that $53,000 and transferred into community services as revenue. And part of that is because, I'm gonna say 10 years ago when I started here, we were giving away over $200,000 worth of free stuff. And everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, council was looking at me saying, why are your expenses so high? And I'm like, well, you keep giving stuff away, right? So it was council's decision that any waiving of fees would be associated with a dollar value, and that dollar value, and Steve, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is put back into the revenues of community services.
Yeah, it wasn't quite exactly how it happened. We were getting complaints from the residents that the town was doing nothing to help anyone, so when we added it up, the rec alone was doing over $200,000 in giveaways, and no one was recognizing us for it. So we decided that, because it hurt Rob's budget, that everybody gets charged the full rate and they had an opportunity to apply for rebate, and then that rebate is accounted for and not charged against Rob's department, it's charged against council.
Steve?
To the director, if we don't spend that portion of that money, where does that go to if we don't?
Those funds will remain in the donations line within the council's budget for save and accept if there's a one-off that may show up during the year where it's an event that just has popped up and it's going to happen in December, but they didn't know they're going to do it until February, right? So they didn't get in the application. If there's funds available, council can still allocate some of those funds to that event. If we do not spend all of the money, it's no different than any other surplus. It'll be used to, it'll be transferred into reserve accounts. So it doesn't get lost, it gets transferred and used in future reserves.
Would that future reserve be for the next year?
It would not necessarily be for this program, right? So we don't carry over our operating surpluses in an operating budget. We take our operating surpluses and turn them over into reserve funds. It could be a capital reserve fund, could be a future needs reserve fund, could be council reserve fund, right? So we have a reserve fund for the election, as an example. So it may get transferred there. I don't know where all of the monies gets transferred that are surplus. I just know that they go into a reserve.
Steve? The other Steve?
Yeah, I was just gonna add that something to be cognizant of, that this process heavily favors stuff that's been in existence. It's, people who are starting something new probably don't know this exists. So for somebody to come in the middle of the year after they found out, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have some money sitting there so we can help somebody do something new.
Director, how do you want to work through this process? You want to go individually, and then if there's any questions per, or how do you want to do this?
Well, I think we need to start off with, so everyone received this sheet. So number one, when I say we're talking about application number one.
This one here?
Yes, we're talking about application number one. So we can have a conversation around whether they met the criteria, if they're missing certain aspects. We do ask if they're not-for-profit. We ask if they have proof for not-for-profit. We want to know if they're located in Strathroy-Caradoc. Are they governed by a volunteer board of directors as part of the program? Have they received municipal support before, and so on. So I would have sent out the spreadsheet of the items that are in the application that we're looking for. So I guess I will stop talking and I'll let the committee speak to application number one.
First of all, let's go to Paul Lattimore from the staff. Paul?
I'm just going to throw out a quick reminder when you put that sheet up for the camera to see, the anonymity kind of goes away a little bit. Just as a note.
Thanks.
He showed all 11. I only mentioned one of them, sorry.
It's very true.
Councillor Pelkman.
A question of clarification. When reading number 8's application, there was mention about number 10. So what I just want to know, are they actually two separate entities? or they want?
That will be for the committee to determine, or send the staff back to get further clarification. The program identifies one event. Application number 8 has a number of events. So that's again something that we're going to need to have some discussion about if we're willing to accept that approach. But again, number 8 is missing a significant number of items for us to make a decision this evening, so.
All right, then can I make a further point of clarification?
Please do.
Since you brought up number 8, that has a number of programs prior to the existing of this programming, council was supporting that organization as a community building prospect, and those funds eventually transferred into this program. It wasn't necessarily geared to a specific event, but more the existence of that organization as a whole, because without that support, that organization might not exist.
Thank you. Steve?
To Director Lilburn there, is what has been asked for, is it more than what has been budgeted for? So if we gave everyone here what they asked for, is it more than what our budget is? Well, some are only asked for like $500,
So
right?
currently, without the number 11's request, because it came in as to be determined, if we were to award all of the asks, we'd be at $56,262.
And you said our budget was?
Our budget was $53,000.
So if the,
That number, Director Lilburn, is that their ask, or is that their ask at the maximum of 25% of cost that we can award?
That was the requested amount,
Okay, so
not the 25%, right? So we,
Technically, we'd be underneath what has been,
yes, you would be.
yes.
Yep.
so if the committee's okay, this is how I want to do it, and if you disagree, let me know. We're gonna go one by one from top to bottom. If there's any questions, comments, concerns, or motions to approve, we'll do it one by one. Are we good?
So let me, if you don't mind, I'll calculate up the lowest of the two. Okay, so what I mean by that is if the 25% is lower than their ask, I'll calculate that up while you guys are having some discussion to give you that number, Steve, if that's okay.
Okay.
Because, so as it stands right now, with the way it's supposed to be, not the ask, our budget would cover everything that was asked.
Yes.
Okay.
Don, oh, sorry, Director, go ahead.
Save and accept that there's a couple numbers that we don't have, right? So I'll use number 5 as an example. We have what they're asking for, but we don't have their budget. So I don't know what the 25% of their proposed expenses would be.
Well, we could multiply that out and figure out what their budget should be to get the maximum 5,000, right?
Well, yes, you could. I would, yes. We can look deeper into that application, because I do remember seeing numbers. It's just not where they should be for us to do an easy.
Well, 25% of 5 would be 20
Microphone on,
grand.
Steve,
Oh,
please.
sorry.
That's your last follow-up, then we're gonna move forward. Please.
Their budget would have to be 20 grand then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Steve. Donna.
Application for number 1. I can't see that in my emails, Rob.
That's because it came as a separate email, because they were late coming in
A separate email from whom?
from me.
The Director, I'm gonna jump on Councilor Cranmer's side here. The separate email I got had the number 11 attachment. I don't remember seeing the number 1.
I don't remember.
there were,
Oh, just give me a moment, and I'll tell you when I sent it at the time.
Okay, and you stand corrected if corrected.
just
Yeah.
for clarity, it was sent out, but it wasn't, and the attachment was an email. You had to open up the email attachment to get the attachments
that's
for the
correct.
files.
Yep.
Oh.
So I don't know if
One of
I
those
could tell
characters.
it was tricky to get to it.
It's November 10th.
10:46 a.m.
Yeah.
At November 10th?
And it has 3 to it.
It's gonna be buried in your view.
Donna,
Multiple
if your
emails.
email's connected, I just forwarded it to you.
Thank you. That would be easier.
Remember the tab.
Can you forward it to Chris too, please?
Apologies.
No, it's okay.
Okay, so we're on number 1. Does anyone have any, that received it originally, have any comments, questions, concerns? Councillor Wilson.
My only comment is this is consistent with what we've done before, and they're asking for less than 10% of the budget. So I don't really see any concerns with it.
Anyone else? Councillor Pelkman.
Yeah, I just add that this is a full family event. It's an important event for the community within a community, I guess, without giving it away. And a good example of how an organization can stretch a few dollars to a lot.
Okay. Anyone else? Comments, questions, motion? Director?
So if I may, while we're going through number 1, they don't, so this is where we may need to review the application process, right? So, and what I mean by that, and maybe it's the application itself. They identify themselves as not-for-profit, but they cannot provide proof that they're not-for-profit. They're not governed by a volunteer board of directors, okay, which is a requirement in our application. They didn't provide us a budget. They did not provide a letter from the board confirming an event. Well, they can't because they don't have a board of volunteers, right? So I understand. I'm just kind of sticking to what we have identified. I don't have a problem. Again, this is the first year that we've done this, so I'm lenient or flexible to the requirements. I just want to make the committee aware that, and I'll do that on every application. I'm not picking on anyone, okay?
Councillor Pelkman.
So this organization is a long-standing organization that's worked through Progress Through Partnership for the last 15 years. I understand why it's not a not-for-profit, so while it doesn't maybe fit the pure definition of what we're supposed to do, it is a long-standing organization in the community, and I think the purpose of their event fits within the intent of this program. So if you need a motion to accept this organization despite it not meeting the exact criteria, then I will make that motion.
It would be a motion to accept the ask. Is that correct, Director?
It would be a motion to move it on to council for approval.
Then I will make that motion.
Councillor Wilson seconded. Comments, questions? You're good, Steve?
Just maybe we should have some kind of clarification on these forms. Are they maybe too onerous for some applications? Like, just looking at that, they're only asking for $500, and there's a lot of stuff here that they had to fill out, and maybe there is things like that that don't fall in this spectrum.
Can I comment to that?
I'm going to answer for the politics side of it.
Oh, Councillor Pelkman, go ahead.
Yeah. So yes, you're exactly right. There are some that you can maybe say it's, I'm going to waive all that work. However, if they're asking for $15,000, then I would expect that the work be put in to provide the criteria that we're looking for, and that there be some semblance of showing responsibility for what they did with the money. But in this case, for $500 for a widespread community event, that's, you can make some assumptions that it's being spent on the intent of the program. Does that make sense, Steve?
It does. I'm just thinking maybe there should be a percentage, just like Rob has a percentage. If they're only asking for X amount, then we don't need all this, right?
Do you want to respond to that, Director, before we go to Councillor Pammer? Or Councillor Pammer?
I just think it would be, I like what's happened here. I think you keep the application the same and people complete it to their best ability. And if they don't have all the required information, then, you know, they can make a comment. But I think that getting into multiple application or exceptions is probably not a good idea. People will do their best and we can see it. And in this case, we know them and we understand it. So we can always go back to people if we have more questions.
Director.
And this is one of the reasons why it's here at this committee and not staff making the recommendations, right? This is so the community representatives can have a conversation and not staff making the decisions. Because if staff was to make the decisions, technically this would be a no, right? But we present it in front of council, and again, we would ask council to make a decision. We bring it here, and you are the community representatives representing, you know, Strathroy-Caradoc, and you put forward a decision. I agree with what Councillor Pelkman's been saying, Councillor Pammer, as well with regards to it's a long-standing organization. They're well known within Strathroy-Caradoc, and they do a number of activities, right? So it's a bit of a no-brainer, but staff have to follow a process where the committee has the ability to say, okay, fine with the process, but we're gonna move it forward anyway.
Okay, so we have a motion and a seconder for number 1 on the floor to move it to council for approval. Any other questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Application number 2. Comments, questions, concerns, motion. Floor is open. Councillor Pelkman.
I guess in the absence of anyone else. So this is a good example of the municipality partnering with an organization to do what we can, and it doesn't really, it cost us lost revenue, not actual cash. Again, an incredible event. While it's not open to the public because it's a ticket sale, the result of the finance is pretty hard to argue that it's not a benefit to the municipality for to have this event in our community.
I have a question for the director. The projected ask right around target?
The requested ask is $4,675.
Okay, there's a note on projected there. Was that staff or was that the application that put that in there?
That would have been the application, the applicant, I'm assuming. What number?
Round number 2.
What page?
9.
It's on the ask page, number 9.
Yeah, that's projected with the, yeah, that's our handwriting.
Okay.
It's projected because the schedule of fees hadn't been passed yet, right? So it won't be more than the $4,675 unless council really surprises me and increases the rate significantly. So.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments, motions? Councillor Wilson.
I was just going to motion to approve this one.
Motion to approve, seconder, Councillor Pelkman. Any other questions, comments? All in favor to move number 2 to council for approval? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. To number 3. We have 2 members conflict of interest on number 3. Discussion is open for number 3. Comments, questions, concerns, motion. Director.
If I may, this is a new event, so we have not seen this one before. Although there are many returning events, there are a couple that are new to these requests.
Chair.
To the director, new as in it never has been asked for before? Okay, because it did say second.
Yeah, I believe it is the second annual. I believe.
There's never been an ask though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Floor is open. Steve.
it has your handwriting there and it's projected again. Are they asking, what are they asking to rent?
The Caradoc Community Center.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Pelton.
It falls within the 25%, so I'm happy to move this, that it goes forward to council.
We have a motion, we have a seconder. Councillor Wilsey. Any other questions, comments to send number 3 to council? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item number 4. Questions, comments, concerns, motions. Councillor Pelton.
Just a comment, back in 2001 or 2002, we did a public survey on events, and this event is the most attended event by far of any single community event.
We work hard for it. Any other Adrian?
Is this one above the 25%, it looks like?
Director?
It is. The committee can make the recommendation to council to stay with the 3,500, or that's being asked, or they can go back to the 25%. Because again, it's a recommendation from this committee. Council can choose to do what council wants. But if the committee feels strongly that this should be the 3,500, then we should go with what they're asking for.
And I apologize to the committee, I probably should have stated a conflict of interest to number 4. Never even thought of that, so my apologies for that. Councillor Pammer.
What did they receive last year?
Director.
The same as the request this year, 3,500.
You got your calculator there, what's the math?
2750.
27%?
2750 would be your 25% of 11,000.
Councillor Wilsey.
The only one to comment is when I look at that, the amount for what they used the money for last year, which they asked me the municipality for, the 3,500 didn't quite cover all the expenses from last year. So we might want to think if we want to match what their expenses were last year, because a lot of it goes back to municipal services for closing off streets and different things like that, and costs for that. Just a discussion point.
So are you suggesting more?
I'm suggesting we should discuss as a committee whether we want to look at what the cost was last year.
Do you know what
all the cover
is off the top of your head?
Was about $150 or $200 more than the ask. It's in the budget. I can find the number.
Councillor Pammer? No? Sorry, your mic on.
Well, yeah.
Councillor Pammer, go ahead.
I'm just a little uneasy about changing the 25%. And that's because if you set a rule, and you're just gonna go all over the place and break it, what's the point of setting the rule, right? Like, it was a number that have been agreed upon, and there are different ways to work budgets and things. I don't think we should, it was a set criteria, and I'm not sure we should start bowing out of it already.
Adrian.
I just noticed on the expenses for last year, there was $1,164 spent on pylons. I don't imagine that would have to be spent again. If we were to go down to the 25%, I'm just wondering if that would cover their costs without that purchase. I guess we might be splitting hairs at this point.
Okay. Director, did you want to comment on that, and we'll go to Councillor Wilsey, or?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm not looking at the application. I'm not sure the expenses with regards to the barricades and stuff. The municipal staff would be dropping those off for free. I believe there was an expense for the group because they enlisted security or something to deal with the barricades. It's not a municipal service that we provide with regards to that. So the municipality provides the barricades. There's no charge for providing the barricades, but we don't staff it to close the roads on a Saturday.
Councillor Wilsey, did you still want to speak before I go to Councillor Pelton, or?
All I was going to say is I found the number, and they were only under by $32 after buying $1,165 worth for 60 large pylons, according to their expense report. So they weren't far under with the 3,500.
Councillor Popman.
I guess that changes my mind a little bit, that we may have to ask for clarification from the organization. My only comment about the 25% is this is an event that you can't generate revenue off of. There's no vendors, there is sponsors, yes, but they're usually pretty targeted to what those funds are going for. I'm in cases, because it is such a widespread attended event and that it is free to the public, I'm okay with passing the 25%, but knowing that I'd want the pylon question cleared up if that expense is still there or if there are other expenses taking its place.
So do we want to take this back to the organization director, or what are you thinking here? We good to take it back to the organization and for clarification? Steve?
I think we should give them the money, man. It's a Santa Claus parade, like it's been going on forever.
We're not spending
Are you gonna be the one who says you're the Grinch? Like, are you gonna be the Grinch in this that says, hey, kids, Santa can't come out because someone's decided he's got more than 25%? To me, it's just, I would put a motion forward that we give them the $3,500, and if they have any more expenses, they come back to us and we cover that.
And for the record, this could be any one of 9 events happening during the holiday season. The motion was for the ask. Steve, is that?
The motion is for, give them the ask, and if there is any more over budget at the end, like said there was $32, that they come back to us and we cover that too.
We have a motion on the floor to send to council for the amount asked for. Is there a seconder? Councillor Wilson.
Are we excluding this? The motion that you repeated is not the same one that the council member had, or the.
I think you said you wanted to approve what was asked for, right?
And then there was a second part that we give them any overage as well. So which?
You want to clarify your motion, Steve, then, please?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Let's just do the 35 then. What's the ask?
So the motion is to approve the ask to send it to council.
Yes.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Pelton, are you seconding or are you commenting? Sure.
You know, and looking at the list of expenses, I would like to know if some of those are repeated or were they one-offs? And that affects my decision, which is why I'm okay if those expenses are repeated to give them the money, Steve. I'm not opposed to that. I just want to know, particularly the pylon one, if that expense is still there, because if it's not there, then we can still fit within our policy and they would end up getting more than free money than what they had last year without the $1,100 expense.
Director, can we get that information from the association and have it back for the December meeting or not?
Absolutely.
Paul Lattimore.
This is a really good example of why we're putting the onus on having the information and submitting a budget, so that when we have these discussions, we can have the actual discussion about the information and not just go off of what, like, they submitted last year's budget, not this year's budget. So now you're deliberating over what you think might be something that you're not sure if that's what it is or not.
And this is for 2024, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, so we have lots of time, that's why I'm.
Jagger.
Through you, the chair, to the director, just to be clear, this event hasn't happened yet for 2023, so I think it might be prudent to see.
This is for the 2024 edition.
I understand,
Okay.
right, but the 2023 edition hasn't happened yet, hence why they haven't submitted their report, so.
Correct.
I think maybe it might be prudent to wait to see, maybe get some new numbers.
Steve, would you be okay to rescind the motion based on the fact that we'll go back to the association for clarification on Councillor Pelton's comments?
Yeah, I like the idea of finding out what the actual cost is this year. I would tell them we're not saying no in any way, shape, or form, so they know that it's there, right? We just want to know kind of roughly what it is this year, and if they come back and say, you know, expenses are going up for everybody.
Okay, so you're okay?
Yeah, I'm
rescinding
good
the
with
motion?
rescinding that.
Director, you okay with that? Okay, good discussion. Let's move to,
Can I add one?
sorry, Councillor Falcon, my apologies.
And I just want to add that I know they've got some stuff in there for security, but I think given that, you know, events that have happened elsewhere in the world, that we should, you know, make sure that the security is enough. Where I totally agree with Steve to say that, you know, we're okay with their ask. We just want to make sure we know what the ask is for, and that, you know, they're getting what they need to provide a safe event for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Director, are we clear on that communication we want to send back then?
Yep.
Perfect, thank you. We good to move on? Committee? Perfect. Let's go to number 5. Questions, comments, concerns, motion to approve. Floor is open. Councillor Wilson.
I'm gonna say that there's no expense sheet, we don't know how much the event cost
Correct.
last year. We know what we donated, because it was a previous event, but we don't know how much the event cost. So with that, until we know how much last year's event cost, I think we need to go back for more information before we can approve any amount.
Any other comments to that, or any, let's go with Sherry.
I'm just curious too, that there was already an ask for financial assist for 2023. Is that something that had to do with what already was held for the year?
Director.
That was last year's request. So the money that was given to them last year was for 2023 event. The money they're asking for this year is for 2024.
Right. But, so in their report, when it asks, if they've already asked for financial assist for the year, they've already put that in, is that just misled?
That's their mistake.
Okay, okay.
Was it Steve that had hand up, and then Councillor Popkin? Go ahead. Steve, did you have your hand up for this?
Yeah, I
Okay,
did.
go ahead.
We didn't have a last year's budget or the year before. How many years has this run? That would be one question. And what were their budgets before and expenses? you know?
Three, maybe 4 years, maybe, I think. There's less than a handful. Councillor Popkin, is it only 2?
Yeah.
2. Councillor Popkin.
If I remember correctly, the ask was because they wanted to rent a stage, which was not in their previous budget. But the financials probably are gonna be very skewed because it was rained out almost this year. So the only comment that I wanna make about this one is this is another one where I think a security fee is gonna be rather important. If you recall, around the last time there was significant news events around similar type activities, and we need to make sure that the event is run safe for the people attending it.
Steve.
Is this event been divisive in the community? Or has it been a benefit to the community, or has it divided us?
I think it's a matter of public opinion.
Well, from,
right?
If we're saying we need more security there, and there's gonna be, is there protest? Was there protests?
Councillor Popkin, did you want to, looked like you wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, so I'll say compared to other communities, Strathroy-Caradoc is very accepting. If you were to follow the online social media stuff, I'm gonna say the comments were probably 50-50. But that's a lot of keyboard warriors that are always gonna be in the negative side of things. At the end of the day, you know, this event is about inclusion, and one of the things that I can say with strong sense is that when I talk to people who I know are part of that community, they do not have issues living in this community, and that's a very strong statement to make, which this festival is about to ensure that continues.
From what I remember from July of this year, when the event was happening down in the park, there was aspects of that event that were occurring in other communities from late May into July that were disruptive and were attended by people that were negative towards the event. And the same couple of events were occurring in July in Strathroy, and there was no disruptions. There was none of that. So it went really well from what I remember. Councillor Palmer and then Jagger.
Just
thought maybe we should make a motion to, I'd like to make a motion to send the application back to the organization for an updated budget and financials to consider the request.
Okay, we'll get Jagger's comments first.
I just, through you, the chair, to the group. I live right by there. I attended the event. Police did attend. I don't particularly know why, but that was my. But I mean, you know, other than that, having attended there, I feel like it was a well-attended event and seemed very joyful as well. So I guess I would agree with Councillor Pammer's suggestion as far as going back to the group and asking for a budget and maybe just asking them to perfect the application in a sense or provide some additional details because I think it is important.
You want to second that motion, Jagger?
I'll second.
Director, do you have a comment?
I want to just touch on security. Security is important regardless of the event you're running. Some events may be a little bit more in the public eye, but being involved in an agricultural society in a large to mid-sized city and holding a 10-day fair, you get to see your odd protester now and again. So it doesn't matter the event, protests or disagreement are going to occur. One of the largest events, the multi-day event that takes place in this community, has to have strong security. As a municipality, we require them to block the entrance of Alexander Park off to help prevent with the potential for ramming. We do the same thing for this event that we're speaking of now. Okay, so similar approaches. Do we have problems at the multi-day event that takes place in Alexander Park? Is there a police presence? Absolutely, there's a police presence. There's a police presence at the events we run, whether it's Winterfest or Ribfest or whatever it is. So it's about taking security seriously, regardless of your event, because the moment you don't take it seriously is when something's going to go wrong. And that's one of the reasons why we've instituted that emergency plan, which, by the way, wasn't ready for this round of applications, but will be required for next year's application. So just throwing that out there for everyone is that regardless of the event, there are issues that could occur and that you need to plan for them. That's one of the reasons why we do the checklist that we created.
Steve.
Director, are you saying there's protest at other events? Did you say that?
Not in Strathroy, other venues that I've worked at. I've worked for an agricultural society that is relatively large, and we've had animal rights activists and so on that have attended the venue where I used to work and stuff. So it's just, it's the cause of the day or a potential disagreement or whatever it could be. The number of times that we need to call police isn't often because our police are here. They're in the park. They're doing their walkthroughs. It's one of the great things about having a community police force is they're there when we need them. It's not a matter of making a phone call to 911 and hope they show up.
Councillor Popman.
Maybe just to take the politics out of this for a second, it is one of the larger asks, so I think clarification in a budget is a worthy exercise in itself, just to ensure that we're knowing what they're spending the money on.
We do have a motion on the table moved by Councillor Pammer, seconded by Jagger to go back to this organization and ask for recent numbers on past events. Are we
And budget, and a current budget for the next
and
year.
current budget for 2024
Yep.
event. Any other comments, questions? All in favor of that motion? Carried. Thank you. All right, number 6, comments, questions, concerns, motion. Floor is open. Councillor Popman.
Yeah, I left my mic on, maybe that was on purpose. This falls within the 25%. And it's the same ask that's been given for quite some time. So I'm more than happy to move this forward to council.
Seconder, questions, comments? Councillor Wilsey, seconder or question? Seconder. Steve, did you have a question or you were going to second as well? Any other questions, comments? Jagger.
I see here that they've asked before. Is this consistent with what has been asked prior? No more, no less? Okay.
I'm gonna say probably for the last 5 years or so. It's fluctuated between 10 and 15, but the last 5 or so it's been 15.
I'm gonna say that for 5 or 6 years prior to COVID, when it switched over to the more person-based organization than a not-for-profit organization, that it was a $10,000 grant with a $5,000 loan. However, when COVID happened, we just waived the $5,000 loan bit and gave them $15,000.
Any other questions, comments? We have a motion to send to council number 6 by Councillor Palkman and seconded by Councillor Wilsey. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Let's go to number 7. Questions, comments, concerns? Sorry, Councillor Pammer, did you want to say something? I apologize.
Well, I'm just, sorry, but I can't open them all at once, so I'm a little bit.
Oh, my
behind
apologies.
Opening them, so I don't see a budget.
For number 6?
For number 6. Was there a budget with that?
For 6 was 102,000, was it not?
Well, that's just, well,
There was,
it's not telling us what they do with the money.
there's no detailed budget in any application. It's one of the items that has been identified in the spreadsheet that we had chatted about.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, let's move to,
If
Director,
I
go
may,
ahead.
If the committee feels it important that I reach out to all of the organizations after we're done this and express the importance of completing the application with the required documentation so it's easier for the committee to do their job. I think a lot of what you're doing is based on history, which is good because history is important, but what about those events that are new and we don't know about? Or don't know the history, right?
Councillor Palkman.
That was kind of why I said this process heavily favors historical events rather than new events.
Do we want to put that out?
I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to go back to these organizations, even if we're approving them, and say, hey, for future, you're gonna need to provide us with a budget, because it's a process, it's a CYA process that council needs to do to make sure that the money is being targeted appropriately.
Paul. Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, thank you. One of the reasons for Kate being here as well is also so she can get a feel for these applications, and in the future, our department can provide the support to the applications so that, which Kate has lots of experience and knows what we're looking for and how this works, so that these applications, the next round, next year when it comes to this committee, it's a way different discussion than what we're having tonight. Right now, we're kind of getting that, as you can see, the first attempt. And so I think next year with a little more department support, being Kate or whomever, will help with this as well, so that we have all these details when it comes to the table. Yeah, so I think it's good that we take a step and get some of this information this time too, so that, again, this committee can make the best decisions and suggestions.
Kate, do you think feedback should go to all 11 submissions, whether or not all 11 are approved by council, as far as what to, feedback as to next time?
Absolutely. Each of these groups also has to fill out the special events permit. So even if this information if this funding is approved but their permit is not, then it changes everything. So if we can work with them from the beginning for this funding application and their event application, it'll make it a lot easier.
committee okay with that action item for staff? Steve, did you have a question?
I'm just worried that this is gonna become too onerous, everything. Probably putting on the Santa Claus parade is enough on its own to be not worrying about tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff. I mean, to me, if they give me what their budget was and what their needs were, I'm happy to say I think that when looking at that, it'll be well spent money. I just don't want the process to be way too onerous. I mean, we've already got enough stuff we gotta fill out between the fire safety plan, the special permit, I mean, you need a bookkeeper to do it.
Yep, director response, and then we'll go to Councillor Wilsey and then Kate.
Specifically to that example, they're one of the best applications we received, right? So it doesn't take long to fill out the application. All we're doing is asking for the information so this group can make a decision. And if they want free money, they need to provide something for that free money. And you know, when we look for grants from a municipal sector, we're talking weeks worth of work. We're asking for maybe 2 hours. I'm looking at someone who fills out the application, right, for one of the events, right, who's declared conflict on that event. We don't want to make it onerous, but I think we need to have the information so this group can make a decision. And that's the only reason I bring that up. The specific group that was mentioned is the better application out of the 11.
Councillor Wilsey.
My question was actually just something that got brought up that Kate had mentioned. If for some reason any of these groups' permits get declined or they don't hold the event, will they still get the grant, or we will wait till their permit's approved before we give them the money? How does just that fundamental part work?
If the event is not held, the money would be returned to us. So when council approves this, typically we'll write a letter, we'll notify them that they were successful in the grant application. By this time, Kate's already reached out to the groups and have started working through this event application. All that is to make sure that, you know, if they're having a tent, they got to go to the building department to get a permit for the tent. If they're having alcohol, that they filled out the municipal alcohol policy and stuff. So we've never turned down a permit. The building department has come back and said, well, we need this, this, and this before we'll give them a building permit for the tent. Okay, so it's not a matter of us not approving a permit. It's making sure that they have all of their required documentation before they can hold the event. So if an event shows up and they want to have a tent and the building department has not issued a building permit, we would allow the event to happen. We just would not allow them to put a tent up, right? So.
Kate and then Councillor Pammer.
Yeah, just to what Steve had said earlier about the paperwork being onerous, event planning should be. You're responsible for a lot of people's safety and a lot of funding and the community's reputation. So you should be doing those emergency plans and you should be looking into all of the information and be prepared for all of it. So it might seem onerous, but any person who reaches out to me and wants to do an event, we go through the special events permit together. We set up a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting and we go through each of those things. And if they're not an event planner as their day job, then it opens their eyes to things that they may not know. So it is something really important for us to do.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pammer.
Just sharing a thought, I'm not really sure where it's going, but just occurred to me that, you know, what I wrote down was what's more important, the financial need for the event, or should we be looking at, is this a important community building activity? Because the budgets are small. I mean, I've got lots of fundraising and grant writing experience. I could go back and do all of these and make them look good, get the 25%. Like, you can, and I'm sure Kate would agree. So it just made me think, when I look at the list, I think, you know, someone's coming to us for $500. You know, is it really about that the event needs $500 to be put on? Or is it really about the event wants the municipality's support? And as a municipality, and this committee representing the municipality in this case, by giving that amount, we're saying, yeah, we support this event, we're encouraging you in this event, and we want to see this event happening because we think it's a good thing for the community. And I just feel like a lot of stuff is being weighed on the budget, and myself included when I was going through the applications, but I'm just reflecting now, is that what we really should be focused on? And I guess this goes back to Steve's point earlier, you know, when he referred to an event that, you know, for goodness sake, it's that event, we all know it and love it, it's been happening for 40 years. Why are we, you know, why we got a, you know, the sharp pencil all of a sudden? Anyway, I'm just gonna share that for food for thought going forward with these applications, that maybe we wanna look at weighing, having a weigh factor about, you know, is this important in the community? Is this a community, how do we rate it from a community building perspective? And is that maybe more important as to whether you need 25% or 10% or 30%? Yeah.
Thank you. So number 7 is on the floor right now.
No, you haven't introduced it yet.
I thought I did,
No.
because we had a follow-up question on number 6 from Councillor Pammer, then I opened up number 7, I thought.
No, you have not.
Okay, so number 7 is now open. Questions, comments, concerns, motion on number 7. Steve?
Just on their budget, they didn't really know what their budget was. I think they filled out the application wrong. They put their budget was nil or free. Proposed revenue, sorry.
I think that's,
Well, isn't that what we've been going off for knowing how much they need and everything like that, right?
Expenses.
we've been going off the proposed expense. The proposed revenue is what they're charging the people who are coming.
Oh, okay.
So they don't have any sponsors, everything is just funded by this group. They're not charging the people for attending. So
And their
that's why
expenses are $2,000.
That's correct. And they're asking for.
But they don't have a budget there, right?
No, they're just saying.
Let's turn the mics on and go through the chair, please. Thank you. Councillor Wilson, finish your comment if you could.
I just say under detailed expenses, which is just below it, they have, it's a not very detailed budget, but they have prizes, treats, photo booth, and crafts, which actually equals more than their proposed expense, and when you add it all together.
Steve, did you have a follow-up comment?
I just didn't know when they were asking for $1,000
Okay.
what exactly it was, why they were.
Director.
Again, this is one of the reasons why I think it's important that we go back to all 11 groups and just let them know that there's, you know, it helps us when they can present a real budget. And, you know, to Councillor Pammer's point about, you know, community building versus budget, when you come up with a matrix on determining what community building is worth, I'd love to see it. But I think that's why it's important. Not one application had a detailed budget, so which makes it difficult. But again, we're relying on some of these historical events. This is another new event, not new to the community, but new to here.
Sherry.
I may have just lost my train of thought for a second. Yeah, give me a minute. I'm gonna have to come back.
Councillor Pugman.
Maybe I'll help break the logjam by saying, I've always considered what Councillor Pammer has said through this whole process, which was I spoke to the very first item, and this would be another item I would say I'm willing to waive the 25% limit and move the $1,000 forward to council.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Wilsey. Any other questions or comments? Sorry, I thought you wanted to talk. You moved your mic. Questions, comments? Motion is to move it to council number 7 for approval for the ask. Correct, Councillor Puckman? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Number 8. Questions, comments, concerns, motions, number 8 on the floor. Councillor Puckman.
So I started off the meeting by asking a question about whether or not this one was related to number 10. Historically, I believe we've given them $10,000, is that correct? In reading their proposal, you know, they're talking about young families moving to the community and that, which are all on the Southwest Middlesex side of the community. And I don't see that they've asked Southwest Middlesex for any funding. So I guess I'd like to know if their intent is to ask Southwest Middlesex for any funding, and that maybe our response might be tied to that. And that same comment goes for number 9.
Director, and then Steve.
Last year, if memory serves me correct, they received $5,000 from Southwest Middlesex, and Strathroy-Caradoc gave 10. The comment that I'm going to make is their ask is more than what their proposed expenses are, based on what they've presented. So I have no issues going back to this group and asking for some further information with regards to the neighboring municipality.
Steve.
So Melbourne doesn't have much in it at all, and the agricultural hall is one of them that is there, and it's one of the major event holders in that area. The reason that I think Strathroy-Caradoc can't grow its side is because the building department won't issue any permits there because they won't allow septic systems to be placed on that area. That's my interpretation of it, whereas Southwest Middlesex will. So you see quite a substantial growth there on the Southwest Middlesex side. The Ag Hall, or the Melbourne Ag Hall, has been there for a long time, and I think it's a part of the community, and I think it's almost, to me, like the school was. And if we don't support that, then we're going to find the community is going to have a harder time supporting functions out there.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pelkman.
Not arguing at that point, and we've given them money for a long time because of that same process. But I did have a problem with their application because they did ask for more than what their proposed budget, and they weren't really firm on what they were using the money for. So I think I'd like some clarification before I'm willing to move it. Otherwise, I would say, based on the information we have, if the committee wants to move forward tonight, then I would propose that we revert to the $10,000 funding that we've provided them in the past.
Okay, we'll revisit that in a sec. Jagger?
Through the chair to, I guess, the director. I wonder how much, and I know that this event has happened already in 2023, and they haven't provided their, or did they say they provided last year's report?
Said what they got, 10 grand.
Have you submitted your final report from the previous year's funding? They said no. So how much weight would we put on that, as far as not having that report, and what that information would be used for that report, and how we think it might be applicable to maybe going back to them for more details as far as that, or maybe asking them for their completed report before the end of the year.
So the final report, no one has provided a final report because this program is new, right? So the final report will be based on the 2024's event. There is no report asked for the 2023 activities. For me, it would be simply as, you need to provide us with your budget to show us that. We don't know what the neighboring municipality provided. Their ask is for $5,000 more than what their proposed expenses. So I don't know, like I have no issues going back and asking for further clarification. I do understand the importance of that venue within the community. I've attended a number of their events last summer, Tractor Fest and the agricultural show that occurred as well. So I know the importance of it. It's just, I don't know how you as a group can make a solid decision.
Did we want to go back to number 8 for more information, or do we want to entertain Councillor Pelkman's thought of dropping down to 10 to send to council? Adrian,
I think we should go back for more information before we decide.
we good with that? Want to do that? Go back to number 8 for more information? Councillor Wilson?
I think I'm good with going back, but we should also clarify whether number 10 is included in this or not.
Yes, absolutely. We good with that?
Yep.
Okay, we're all good with that then? Okay. Let's move to number 9. Questions, comments, concerns, motions, tables, or floor is open on number 9. Councillor Pelkman.
Is everybody aware of the history of this event? Just, yeah. So this year, it's not being held in our own municipality. So I feel like in the years that it's not being held in our municipality, that it should be the other municipality that's stepping up to the plate. I'm happy to provide the smaller amount, the $1,000 to make sure that the event does go off. But when it's held in our own municipality, that's when I'm happy to step up the amount that's given to the event.
So if I could just provide some background to the $6,000 that they received last year, was $5,000 that was given to the organization that was going to offer it in Strathroy, did not offer it in Strathroy, and then council directed that money to go to the event in Mount Bridges. Typically they would get $1,000 when in Strathroy, or sorry, when in Mount Bridges, and $500 when in the neighboring municipality.
Isn't the neighboring municipality part of this municipality?
No.
Isn't it called Delaware West?
No.
It's part of our municipality every time that we've heard it. There's been
the association is, or the 3 is I can't say it.
I know. Well, you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, no.
When we say it, we talk about Strathroy.
It's on the other side of the river.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a hand up over here. Councillor Wilson.
I was just gonna say Delaware West is only this side of the river, is that those few houses before you cross the river, and then it changes the municipality, then that's Delaware.
Okay.
So
Thank you for the
Delaware West is separate
clarification.
from Delaware.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. I wasn't sure, that's why I thought I asked. Jay,
Just to clarify, that's Middlesex Center.
thank you. Steve.
Did the other municipality give them anything? And if they did, why can't we look at doing a matching thing? So we're all not squabbling, it's yours, and it's in yours, it's in mine, it's in theirs, it's in blah, blah, blah. Why don't we look at a matching thing, and whatever their municipality will cough up, we'll do the same.
Director?
It typically is flawed. It typically goes back and forth. So when it's in Strathroy-Caradoc, or when it's held in Mount Bridges, the neighboring municipality gives less. Same thing when it goes to the neighboring municipality, Strathroy-Caradoc gives less. It's just that's the way it's been. It doesn't have to remain that way. It doesn't, but that's just the way it's been.
Follow, Steve.
So they have that understanding already? So the $6,000 is, so what was it last year then they asked for?
They asked for 1,000. They got 1,000.
Okay.
Then when the event in Strathroy did not go, council elected to take the $5,000 that was returned and give it to the event in Mount Bridges to encourage some further advertising to encourage the Strathroy residents to go to Mount Bridges for the event, because there was no event on July 1st here in Strathroy. Okay, that's why they had an influx of cash in last year.
Any other questions, comments, a motion, anything? Councillor Pelkman.
I'm happy to move that we provide $1,000 and move that forward to council.
Motion on the table, we have a seconder. Adrian, any other questions or comments? Motion is to move number $9,000 to approval for council. All in favor? Carried. What are we doing with number 10? Is that part of number 8, Director, where we're going back for more info?
That's correct.
Okay. Steve.
The only thing was, there are 2 separate applicants, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So it's 2 separate people, right? And I did read that on there, the one already has a nonprofit number. And then the Track Fast one said that number 10 said they were actually applying for that on their application. So if they were to get that in their or that number, then they would be essentially two separate entities, correct?
If I may.
You may.
I would say they're two separate entities now, because the organizers have applied on behalf of number 10, and the event facility has applied on behalf of number 10. You can't double dip, right? So either number 10 has to retract their application, or the application has to leave number 8 for that specific activity. Do you follow what I'm saying? So number 8 listed number 10 as one of the events that they're seeking funding for, correct? Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so number 10 has already had funds requested for that event. Now number 10 is asking for funds for their event. The event is essentially double dipping, right? So it's getting money twice for the same event.
Follow up, Steve.
Unless the ag halls, I gotta keep saying that. Unless number 8 has leased out its facility to number 10, right?
Then if that's the case, then that would be a revenue for number 8, if that's the case, right? And then, so why would number 8 be identifying that as an event within their application?
That would be like the township of Strathroy-Caradoc saying, we put on number 5, right? Essentially, we don't put on number 5. Someone else puts on number 5.
Yep.
We're just providing the facility, and in doing that, then we're saying we're part of that event.
Yes, so why should number 8 get money from the municipality for the event that's taking place on their property that they should be gaining revenue from?
Steve, it's the same example if number 5 asked for money and number 6 asked for money and included number 5 as one of the events during that number 6 weekend. It's the same example. So we have to go back to them, and if they don't want to pull number 10 as an applicant, then they need to remove the number 10 aspect out of the number 8. Does that make sense to you?
You know what, I'm willing to accept that, except for number 8 is not just an event. Number 8 is a whole entity.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
number 8's like saying Alexander Park, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
to me, you can't compare those two.
So you're,
I'm good with them going, you guys going, or us going back and saying, or the director going back and
Going
saying,
back regarding number 10.
pull that off. And
okay, Councillor Pelkman.
Yeah, and I too would just like clarification on the money, because if I'm reading that correctly, they would have a $2,500 profit, which is certainly not gonna come on the backs of the taxpayers. So we need to know what their ask is for and see a better budget than just those numbers.
Sherry.
Also within the application, I noticed that it's listed as a fundraiser, and just wondering what the funds are being raised for, if it's going back into the community, if they're supporting something under it or whatnot.
Is that number 10 or number 8?
That is number 10.
Number 10. So we're all good with going back and getting more information on number 10 in addition to number 8?
Yep.
Okay.
What I'm, if I may, Chair, what I'm going to do is I will go through all of this tomorrow and send everyone out an email making sure that I'm getting the right information that you're looking for, if that's fair, rather than not asking for something that you wanted to get information on. Okay?
We good with that? Okay. Number 11. Questions, comments? Oh, Paul, on number 11 or back to number 10?
It's number 10, but
Okay.
I think it's
Well,
greater. This is
go
going
ahead.
back to Councillor Palmer's point from earlier. if we're okay with the total in number 10, do we need to revisit our policy to decide whether, because that's 67% of their expenses. What does the 25% mean anymore?
I'm not okay with their ask.
Right, and I guess that's, whether as a committee, that's something that we're looking at in this program, whether the 25% is gonna mean anything, or if it's just a arbitrary number that sits there for, yeah.
Okay, no, that's a good point, thank you, Paul. Let's open up the floor to number 11. Questions, comments, concerns, motion. Floor is open, number 11. Councillor Wilsey.
This one is, it's again missing its budget, but it's asking for something that's revenue neutral for us, which is just free use of the facilities. With the event, it's been held for a number of years in this, we've heard about it before. I think it's a good thing for the community. It'll bring a lot of people into it. I don't see any issues with being free use of facilities, but I would still think we need to have the same information from them that we have from some of the other applicants.
Director, your mic's on. Did you want to say
Yeah,
something?
we don't know what those facilities are. If they're gonna be renting the pool to hold swimming, the rental of the pool per day is extremely expensive. And then is that, so this may be, agreed, we need to get more information, but this may be an ask that may go directly to council. Because of the I wanna call it specialness, that's not a word.
Uniqueness.
Uniqueness, thank you. With regards to it, it's not something that happens every year. This is, I think the last time it was here would have been, well, it was before my time, and I'm gonna say 14 years ago.
30 years ago.
How long?
1994.
1994.
I got the shirt.
All right.
It's happened once since then.
I was on the committee too.
It's happened once since I've been on council.
Yeah, so this may be a special request to council versus going through this group. But again, I'll leave it up to this committee.
Councillor Copeland.
I would agree with that, just in case that people aren't familiar with what that event is, there's road races, there's indoor requirements, there's be road closures, there'd be all kinds of stuff. So it's a very different ball of wax than anything else. Yeah.
Anyone else except Member Richards? Jagger?
I'm just noting here that they seem to have partnership with Middlesex Centre and the City of London. I think that's good to know. But maybe a breakdown of facility use might be something we could ask for too, so we can get a sure number as far as the free use of facilities.
Director, does that make sense to you?
It does, I just don't know, I don't know what the timeline is with regards to gathering that information. 1 week, so we might be able to have that information for the next meeting in December. Again, it may still be something after the December meeting that should still probably be the ear of council. So I would make a suggestion that maybe there be a letter, at least a communication from the committee, not our committee, not CDAC, but of the events committee, just identifying what they're trying to do and what they're trying to bring, just from a communications perspective.
Councillor Copeland.
I think I'd like to see something from the parent organization too about what they expect the requirements to be, because we may not even be able to meet them.
Are we good with that? We have, Steve.
Are these usually a net gain or a net loss for the community?
Director.
I want to say they're a break even. When they were held in '94, from what I understand, there was a small profit made. When I mean small profit, we're talking a couple grand. So the goal is to break even. Whether or not how that works out, I don't know. It's not like we're running the Olympics or a event we're running in conjunction with 3 other municipalities, trying to bring an event to the area that hasn't been here in quite some time. There is some benefit to bringing an event of this nature from a sports tourism perspective, which brings revenues not just into the municipality from a facility rental perspective, but to local businesses, downtown restaurants and hotels and shops and so on. So there is an economic spin-off that would be of a positive nature for an event like this. So if we'll communicate with the event committee and get some further information for the December meeting.
Everyone okay with that? I'm not sure that, I'd like to have you speak, but I'm not sure that you can.
Just wanted to make a correction, Chris, on the application, I think it says 400 participants. That was actually for the local area. Well, what we're hosting here, it was 650 last time. So you got the right numbers. That was my fault, I put the wrong number in.
Thanks, Brad. Any other questions? We're good with the direction for the director? Okay. I do have one question before we wrap this up. So there's some submissions that we're going back for more information. Are we going to council when all recommendations are grouped together, or are we going to council with the ones that we approved tonight, and then another council meeting will be more potentially?
You tell me.
Councillor Puckman.
Yeah, so obviously the budget process is going to be affected by the results of this, so we can have a little bit of latitude knowing what the asks are to provide some leeway in the budget. Should we come back with a full ask or not?
Okay, Councillor Palmer, do you want to add anything?
Well, I do think we should probably just go to council once with a package of all the recommendations, but if we could, I think we could probably move forward with presenting a budget of $53,000, and then we decide how that gets spent.
Adrian and then the director.
Just a suggestion, hopefully for next year for this process. I think we've blown staying confidential out of the water tonight. So I just wonder if maybe next year when we're doing this, if we could, as a committee, just receive the spreadsheet with all of the information from requesting over. We don't know the specifics of the events, mainly because it's up to council to decide whether or not they get the money. Our job is to make sure we're following policy. Is that correct?
Correct. I think it's important that you get the application, because there's information in the application that I'm not able to put into a spreadsheet. This is the first time we've done this, and the attempt was to make it, and it's not that it needs to be confidential, because if it was confidential, we'd be in camera. There's nothing that we're talking. The reason we wanted not to be using the names of the events was because we didn't want to embarrass one organization over another for the lack of fullness of their applications. Okay, so that was the attempt of trying to keep neutral with regards to the names. This isn't confidential in the sense that we need to be in camera. It was more out of embarrassment of the organizations, because that's not what we're here to do. We're not here to embarrass anybody.
Councillor Wilsey.
I would just suggest for next year that with the spreadsheet and everything that was sent out, maybe that will be completed by staff next time just because it's just checking boxes whether.
Yeah, we can do that.
We didn't need to, it's good that we all read the applications and went through it, but I don't think each one of us needed to fill out the spreadsheet with the same information.
And that's fine. My goal is to get you to read the applications. And that's why I didn't fill out the spreadsheet. I don't have a problem filling out the spreadsheet. It's quite easy because it's all there in front of me. I do want to let you know that approved this evening, the total amount approved this evening is $22,762.
Approved to go to council?
approved to go to, recommended to go to council. The 22,762.
Councillor Pelkman.
Yes. Just so I can respond to Adrian's comment, you know, the unfortunate part is there is a political side to this process, and we want to make sure that events in all part of the community are supported, and by leaving the names off, some might get omitted, and the smaller the portion of the community, the easier it is to look over. So I myself, even though I'm a Ward 1 councillor, never want to overlook the smaller portions of our communities. So.
Okay. We good? Good discussion. Inquiries or comments by members? We'll go around the shoe. We'll start with Councillor Palmer. Councillor Pelkman.
I just hope that as everybody enjoys the seasons and the events that all kinds of organizations are putting on, that they are responsible and don't drink and drive, please.
Thank you. Paul Lattimore.
I was just wondering if we could bring the budget process to this committee, and they seem very generous with it, so I was kind of hoping maybe we could get a little bit of that love to go with ours when that comes around. Thank you.
Paul is a member of staff, but we need a motion for that? No, just
Yeah,
kidding.
that's not gonna happen.
Darren Downing.
None tonight, thank you.
Kate Topham. Thanks for joining us tonight, Kate.
Of course, following up with what Paul said, the budget approved or put forward by this committee is equivalent almost to what municipal events get. So I kind of hope that we have your support in upping that budget in the future. Or as a committee helping to promote our sponsorship. We do almost double the events that are on this list with less funding. That's just my comment.
From the municipal events coordinator. Brad Richards.
Thank you, Chris. Just last week, I was, I don't know if I had the pleasure or not, but it was nice anyways. I got elected chairman for the Senior Games Committee. And this is here on Perth, Middlesex, so it's a big area. And hopefully, if everything goes well, it looks like we're going to get it, we'll be hosting the regional games, which goes right down to Windsor, right up to the top of the noose there, I guess you call it. And there should be a really big turnout, 650, I think was the last count we had last time. We're going to do a lot of fundraising. Well, just to give you an example, when we did it in 1994, we actually made up a little booklet. We sold the ads in it, like not Illinois for sure. But and it raised us the $2,000. So that was and that was really that was the cost. So I'm hoping that it ends up costing nothing to the committee. And it really would be nice to have the seniors more involved. They're involved now, but I want to get them all going. I would like to have every event filled up with somebody from Strathroy-Caradoc. That's my goal. So we'll see how it goes.
That's not regarding one of the events we talked about, is it? We're just kidding.
No, I didn't say that.
Adrian.
Nothing for you, thanks.
Steve.
I'd just like to say, I think the budget, keeping it the same, I like to see that. I think everybody's wallets are gonna get tighter and tighter, and I think everybody's feeling the effects of inflation, including the municipality. So, I mean, if we can keep the funding the same for most of the organizations, or try to, without having to cut it, I think that might be a good thing or a good goal to try to achieve.
Thank you, Steve. Jagger.
No comments from me, thank you.
Councillor Wilson. Sherry. Director Lilburn.
I've talked enough.
There's a parade Saturday. Strathroy Regal Foods Lions Parade, 1 o'clock downtown. Winterfest. Surprised you didn't mention that, but I'll mention it for you. Winterfest at the Fairgrounds and Recreation Complex, Saturday. Crohn's and colitis, let's do brunch. Sunday morning at the Strathroy Legion. I do have a business question for the director. 2024 user fees, are they set in stone, or is that still being negotiated? I remember we received a window of 3 years in 2022, which included 2024, or are those fees still to be approved?
Those fees are still to be approved.
Okay.
So the fees have gone in to Parks Department. I'm not sure when they're going to be presented to council for approval.
budget process.
Well, they would go in before the budget process, so it will be very, very shortly, so.
So just for clarification, the 3-year window that user groups received in 2022, which include 2024, that's a rough figure.
Those are proposed. So
Proposed,
those
okay.
are proposed fees.
Okay.
Council and staff can make adjustments to anything at any point in time. Staff makes a recommendation, council makes the adjustment.
Okay.
And that's all done via bylaw.
All right, thank you. Number 9, I know this committee is supposed to meet on Mondays, sometimes Tuesdays based on holiday weekends. I'd like to make a motion that we move this committee permanently to Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock. Do we have a seconder to that? Steve? That's Steve. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. So can we say that our next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, December the 12th then?
You can say that.
Tuesday, December the 12th at 7 p.m.
When's the biz after biz?
November 30th.
Okay? We need a motion to adjourn. Thanks for a great discussion tonight. Brad, seconder, Adrian, all in favor? Carried. Good night. Thanks for watching at home.
We have a budget meeting on the 12th.
Meeting adjourned.
We may end up canceling the December meeting.
Yeah, we usually don't run a December CDAC anyway, so we'll see.